Hey listeners, want to share your opinions, give feedback, or tell me and Coach Sarah what you're thinking? Send us a voice message. Voice messages are an easy way for you to send us audio that might end up in a future episode of the Mantra Pod. They're the latest feature from Anchor, the platform we use to make this podcast. You can share a zinger that you hear or a cool phrase that we could use in the Mantra Open, or tell us how a mantra helped you move through a tough moment. We'll see all of your messages, and we might add them into a future episode because Anchor makes that part easy for us as well. You can send us a voice message right now from wherever you're listening. Just tap the link in my show notes. I can't wait to hear from you. Hi, it's Coach MK. So Coach Sarah has been telling me about a new show she's really excited about called Fleabag. It sounds amazing. Several of my friends have recommended it. I want to watch it. I mean to watch it. But finding 30 minutes to turn on the television, much less to sit, watch, and focus. Realistically, I just don't know when it's going to happen. If that's how you feel about all the video and live streaming content we've been producing, meaning you want to watch it but it's never going to happen, never fear, we got you. 95% of what we produce does not need to be caught live and never requires your full, undivided attention. The 5% that does, by the way, lives in the membership area of the Fitness Protection website. Our Q&A sessions are live streamed on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Once the broadcast ends, our amazing, incredible, and gorgeous editor, who we appreciate so much, will pull the audio to create a podcast you can consume at your leisure. We will make every attempt to have detailed show notes available once the transcription is ready to post on the blog over at www.coachedandloved.com/blog. We are currently, tentatively, planning to launch 2 podcasts. The first one, Fitness Protection, the podcast, is more informative. This is where the Q&A audio files will live, alongside a few podcasts that introduce who we are and what we do to the general public, as well as in-depth discussions that would be relevant to all participants in the Fitness Protection program. Separately, we're working out the production schedule for a more casual, conversational podcast produced under the Fitness Protection brand with the working title, Sarah Runs With You. Initially, this will be Coach Sarah and Coach MK sharing deep thoughts out loud, and over time become more of a platform and bullhorn for Coach Sarah. Let us know what you think. Does this sound good? Are you interested? If there are any topics you would like us to cover on either podcast, tell us. Email info@coachedandloved.com. Again, that's info at coachedandloved.com. That's all for now. We hope you enjoy this test run of Fitness Protection, the podcast. Hi, I'm Coach MK, founder of the Fitness Protection program. I'm a run coach, not a life coach. We're never really talking about the running. Running is the tool. It's the conduit we use to examine the world we live in, as well as its impact on our own lives and the lives of the people around us. How we react to certain people and to certain stories tells us a lot about how we view ourselves. I'm committed to the thoughtful, intentional exploration of the importance of running so that no one discounts their own badassery, ever. Final note, this podcast is geared towards every runner who won't lose their home, livelihood, or health insurance if they show up to the corral with a hangover. Not that I'm encouraging you to do that, just saying. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the Fitness Protection podcast. All right, hi. Oh my gosh, sorry. This is Coach MK. You can hear Coach Sarah as usual, and we are trying something new. We are simulcasting between 3 different mediums, and if this works, I'm going to start playing around with some software this week that should allow us to do this with the click of a button, and I won't have to open up 3 different, I won't have camera 1 and camera 2 anymore, which will be that'll make life a little bit easier for me at least. I don't think anything is ever going to make life easier for poor Coach Sarah over there, but we're grateful that you hang out anyway, Sarah.
I'm cool.
Yay.
I don't need to be, my camera's not even working anyway, so even if there was the ability to have me on video, I would just be a black box.
Oh my gosh.
Which I am anyway, but you know.
Well, I tell you, like days like today, I kind of wish that my camera wasn't working. My eyes are still red. We've had massive rainstorms that have been coming through, like very typical Colorado afternoon rainstorms that just bring all the pollen out, and my eyes are bright red and after when you guys hear tomorrow's mantra, if you listen to our podcast, when you hear tomorrow's mantra, you'll understand it was kind of an emotional day. HRH, the baby Violet, starts preschool tomorrow, and I'm like, as it's such a relief on one hand. On the other, it's like, where did the last 18 months go? Oh my gosh. It's just very feeling, got a lot of feels, whole lot of feels over here. So
I know what you mean. I can't believe it's summer already, and we're like, it's a whole new season of school. And yeah, I all of a sudden feel like Roz is going to be 4 any second. And, that this is the first age. 3 is the first age where I feel like I know I'm going to miss this age. I know I'm going to miss it. I'm going to look back on it very tenderly.
Well, not only are you going to miss the age, something else you're going to be missing really soon is a paycheck. I hope you're like holding on to those for dear life.
Hey, I got 11 more weeks of getting paid, so
we'll take it. Alex and I have been talking about.
I'm going to sock it all away, and then we'll just grow the hell out of this business, and it'll be great.
I feel like phase 0 has been going very, very well. I can't wait to get the podcast launched and the other things that we have on the back burner off the ground, build and run uninterrupted, or we're getting ready to launch those too. So there are lots of good things coming down the pike. Yay. It's just sort of like, I need another person in order to do it. And what I really mean by that is I need another person who's willing to work for free in order to do it. Hello, Jennifer. So glad you're here.
Hi, Jennifer.
And so I'm thrilled to have, you guys have no idea how lucky we all are to have Coach Sarah willing to be like Coach Sarah, just being willing to do this. I know I'm grateful every single day. You're doing an amazing job. And I hope that this will be worthy of your faith. But if anything keeps me awake at night, it's mostly that. So.
Well, thank you. I really believe in this very, very much, and you know that. And it's really important to me to be here in this phase, and I'm really glad that I'm here. And I really want you to get some sleep, MK. I really want you to get some sleep.
Well, I think like coming up soon, I'll be able to now that the worst of like May is kind of behind us, and actually all of May is behind us. It's June. Oh my gosh, it's June. How did that happen? I know, right? It's going to be June the 3rd tomorrow. I've got 1 week with RJ and Cheyenne at home. And then on the 10th, everyone's in school. And then with that, that's just going to free up so much time. I barely know what to do with myself. I know exactly what to do with myself. That time is going to be sucked up, but it's to not feel torn all day hearing the last baby that's ever going to come out of my body downstairs is going to be that will already feel like a little bit less pressure knowing that she's in a good place. But there's that. It still all happened way too fast, and I'm a little bit sour and a little bit bitter because this final baby phase was not what I imagined it would be. Yeah. But I had a good run today, and it's the first good run I've really had since 3 days at the fair, since being in Philly. And I will take that. It's a small win, but it's a win nonetheless. I will take it. And I feel like I could go out again right now, which I know I don't need to. But the fact that after 2 weeks of like, I really want to do this, where I just had failed to notice how much of an emotional toll life may have been taking on me for a lot of different reasons in a lot of different areas. I was blaming the running, of course, because it's easy to talk about the running and it's hard to talk about everything else. But I mentioned this in the podcast as well, like some of the things that I kind of was forced to have to start talking about some of them this week. And that just saying them out loud for the first time is kind of like, oh, weight off my shoulders, weight off my chest. You know what? We're just going to keep moving forward. And that right there. So part of what I talk about with the heart rate training is that your body does not differentiate at all between physiological and psychological stress. It doesn't. When you are stressed out, period, your body doesn't care why. It's the same net hormonal impact. It's the same net impact on your cardiovascular system. Being really worried about something can send your heart rate up. Being scared can send your heart rate up. And everything that kicks in is very similar to what happens after a hard effort workout, which is not to say freaking out can make you really fit. It can just make you really tired. So that's why we have to be specific and conscientious about all the workouts that we do above 140. There better be a very good reason for that stress. We need to be making sure that stress is productive and has something that we can't get elsewhere. Otherwise, you have one fight with your spouse and it's not like you've undone everything, but you've just used all your chits. And now, congratulations, if this happens several days in a row, you're completely overtrained. And that's the last thing I want for a person. So I have felt overtrained all week long. And it turns out, no, man, I was just stressed out. But here we are going into summer. I already feel a lot better. dealing with all of a sudden makes everything else easier to manage. And we're kind of doing that and looking forward to whatever this week is going to bring. Hopefully it will be more rain because we totally need more rain. But if you guys hear noises, there's another thunderstorm that's about to pass, just like last week. It's Colorado afternoon, the springtime. So if you hear anything, that's if I get up and put the shades down, I apologize. That's just a storm coming in. I'm trying to brace us all from it. So if you're new to the channel, my name's Coach MK Fleming. On the line, I also have Coach Sarah Axelrod. We're of the Fitness Protection Program, www.fitnessprotection.com. This is our weekly segment, Ask the Coaches, where we sort of talk through anything that we're thinking and feeling, anything that's come up in our own training this week. And we take all of the questions that are being asked around us. I'm nowhere near as entertaining as my good friend Debbie Shear, who just joined here on Facebook. Hi, Debbie. You're amazing at Pride, by the way. I really wanted to come out and see you, and I need more lists of times that you perform because you're really good. If you're in the Denver area, look for Debbie Shear. She's a local comedian. She's a mom. She's badass. I love everything she says and does. I cannot look at her enough, as creepy as that sounds. Yeah, I mean it. And I would encourage you to go take a look at everything that she's doing too. So with that, let's get started with Ask the Coach. See what questions people had for us this week. If you aren't aware, by the way, we have a threadless shop. Yeah, you can get these neat little t-shirts, free shipping until June 16th. Thank you very much. Yay. Oh, thank you, Debbie. Yeah, I mean, I'm not like I said, I can only aspire to be as funny as you are and look as good in makeup as you do. She's a beautiful woman. Oh my God. If you know any single people, send them Debbie's way. She loves talking about her love life, and it gives me fodder. It gives her fodder for comedy and things for us to hear about in the audience. So going to hop on over to the Ask the Coach, see what kind of questions are burning up the hearts and minds of all my runners this week. Yay. Oh, I'm not in the right.
We've got a big night in Rebuild, and we've got a chill night in Maintain.
I was going to say, is there anything in Maintain? Oh, there is.
2 questions in Maintain, and they're both pretty quick ones, actually, I think. Rebuild is 8 questions.
Why is it showing me a chart?
Yeah, it says 3 responses for Maintain, but 2 of them are the same one. It must have submitted twice by accident, and so it's displaying it a little bit weird. But if you click on individual, you should be able to just scroll through them. Do you want me to read them?
Yes, because I'm clicking on it, and I'm like, why do I have a question? A question chart is something I'm not prepared to handle
today. The question chart makes zero sense to me. I have no idea why, but I figured out how to get the text in front of me. Okay, so the first question is, can we lump all the strength moves into 1 or 2 days rather than the 4 days as written? Is there a reason we shouldn't? Thanks.
Okay, so the answer to that is yes, you absolutely can. And before I go much further, just want to, if you're watching and these are your questions and you have a follow-up question, Coach Sarah is watching all of the chats in all of the rooms. Don't try too hard to confuse her, because like I said, we're not paying her enough just yet. But the fastest place.
I'm pretty smart though, so.
She was working at Harvard. Just saying, she quit Harvard. I don't know. You quit Harvard to work for me. I don't know that we can claim we can play the Harvard card as proof of your intellect right in the short term. Anyway, Sarah, we'll see. It's going to take several years for that to pan out. But if you're listening, if you have comments or follow-up questions, the fastest place for me to see them is in Twitch, and that's twitch.tv/Coach MK. If you are putting your comments in the live stream, either via the YouTube channel or the Facebook page, Coach Sarah is likely to see those, but it'll take a minute for her to interrupt me and interject those comments into the flow. But I will also go back through and make sure that we've tied everything up and we've cleaned and we've answered all the questions and all the follow-ups before we end the broadcast. So if we haven't gotten to your question yet, just hang on a little bit longer. So the first question from Maintain was, can we combine all 4 strength circuits into one big strength extravaganza? Is there a reason to spread them out? Well, the reason that we spread them out, to back up a little bit further, the reason that it's done this way in the first place was that 30 minutes of strength is a big ask. It's a lot to ask anyone for. I mean, I could barely get people to do the silly toes warm-ups, much less the foam rolling if I wasn't doing it with you or turning it into a thing. So, and foam rolling is coming back very soon, you guys. So now I was going to say June the 3rd, but it's going to be June the 10th when like we're on lockdown with the new schedule and trying things out. So originally I was like, all right, but we have to do a few things to keep people strong. I get it that we can't carve out another 30 minutes. How about 3? Just give me anyone can find 3 minutes that really doesn't want to get injured. And I'm not going to ask you to do anything that's stupid. And it's easy to be like, oh, that doesn't matter. It's only 3 minutes. But I swear if you do it, it compounds like interest and coins in the bank. And if you want to talk to your kids about saving money and being responsible, then you got to walk the walk. Those pennies add up into dollars, and these strength moons add up into really beautiful muscles that will support you during these endurance events, no matter how stupid the event that you want to do actually is. And I say that lovingly because obviously I'm here to facilitate even people that want to run a marathon every week for a year. I got hit with that recently, and I might actually take that client. So, her premise is very interesting, and we'll have her on the podcast to talk more about that if this ends up working out.
All right, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I don't say yes to very many things. I'm like, okay. So yes, you can do all 4 moves, but then this is where it turns into, I know most of our runners are rule followers, and you guys like rules, and you want a rule that you can break, basically, or an exception you can make to the rule that you can follow a little too closely. And I get that. That's okay. So the rule is this: either do the strength as written, or do it all 2 times through, 3 times a week. I think you'll find that doing a little bit every day is better, even if you're doing each circuit twice through. I asked for 1, 2 is great if you can do it. And you can do it once with me at night and once with Coach Sarah the next day. We plan, and the reason that we do that is to give you a point of contact with us. If you have a question, rather than just kind of throwing it all over the place so that we're finding questions wherever people feel like putting them, we're trying to keep the communication channels really locked in tight, so you know exactly what to do and where to go and how to find us. You are never required to watch us live, but if you want it, but we'll tell you when live is going to happen, and you can catch us to ask questions whenever you want. So I'm making the effort to giving you 2 points of contact each day, 1 with me at night when I demonstrate the strength circuit for the next day. So after this later, and I put the kids down, I will go live and demonstrate the strength circuits and coach you all through all the moves in both maintain and rebuild private Facebook pages. And then Coach Sarah will do them live the next day. And again, that ends up being quite a bit of strength. So that gives you 2 opportunities. You can do them with us. You can do them twice. You can do them at the same time. You can watch poor Coach Sarah just like cry, because I think tomorrow is clam day, and everything is clams. Everything is clams in both both rooms. So,
okay, I haven't looked yet, but I had a feeling. Oh yeah.
It's
Rebuild
bad.
Is all clams tomorrow.
It's all clams all the time. Yeah.
Cry.
Yay for booties! I mean, if you really want to get
for us, though.
You want a summer booty, you're gonna get it if you do both, and you can have access to both if you subscribe to the Fitness Protection YouTube channel, because I've put everything is in the membership area of your site, but we've got a couple people that don't use Facebook and others that have had trouble logging in. So for now, all the strength, the demonstrations for each circuit are publicly available in the YouTube channel while I wait for Wix and get that sorted out on the back end. So that's a very long way of saying, yes, you can do them all at once, but this is why it's structured the way that it is. Use it however you want. This is guided DIY. The rule that I would guide for you is do them as written. Try to do them twice through. If that's not an option, we get it, and that's okay. If the timeliness of the strength, the circuit demonstrations don't work for you, and by the time you have time to sit down and watch them, you are not in a place where you can form them, cool. Trail behind us however you like. Do them all the way, all 4 circuits, all the way through 3 times a week. Physiologically, that's why we do it this way and maintain. In rebuild, it's a bit of a different notion. I really prefer for rebuild to spread that out, because this is what we're thinking in rebuild. And I'm saying this like, I get this as a question in the maintain group, but if anyone from rebuild is watching, the rule for you is a little bit different, because what we're attempting to do and maintain is maintain or build on a certain level, modicum of strength that and fitness that we're okay with. With rebuild, we're making a concerted effort to leverage existing muscle memory to come back to a place where we once were, and then eventually, hopefully, maybe maintain it, hang out there, or surpass it. That's not, I mean, I don't need you to, like shoot for the moon. What I do need you to do is stay healthy for life, and this is good. And these strength moves are a good way to facilitate all of the cardiovascular activities that will keep you alive and healthy longer and stronger, so that you don't end up like my dad did. Yay! So to that end, with Rebuild, what we're trying to do is reactivate and re-engage certain muscle groups, again, leveraging that muscle memory. And that, the plan, as you see it written there, we're doing that a little bit at a time. Trying to do half an hour of strength all at once for most of the folks in Rebuild is not only like, God, I don't want to do that. It's probably not the best idea. So as a general rule in Rebuild, do it as written. In Maintain, you have more flexibility, because the operating assumption of Maintain is that you don't need to activate, you don't need to recruit. We just need to engage and maybe challenge those muscle groups a little bit in order to get stronger. Whereas with Rebuild, we're accepting we are not ready to be challenged yet. So that's really the difference in the approach between the two programs. Sarah?
Cool.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Oh my God.
No, that's okay. I'm digesting all that. I'm glad to know that, and that makes a lot of sense. And I'm guessing that the reason you want to do it a few times a week, if you're doing them all at once, is that like you don't want to go multiple days without doing any strength moves, right? Like that's the idea there.
Correct. We need to be, because everything it's hard to see how cumulative it actually is, but how all of the pieces, by the time we get to the end of a week, you've worked all the major and minor supporting muscle groups that you need to succeed as a runner. So every day that you're not performing one of the circuits, you're not engaging and recruiting those muscles. So, so anything that isn't used for between 2 and 3 days, it starts to go away a little bit. So we need to kind of close that gap. Either doing a little something every day is good, doing something, doing 30 minutes of something 3 times a week is fine, as long as you can be consistent about it. But what I really aim to give, and you're going to see this, I've got a series of Instagram posts that are getting ready to go up and posts on the blog. If you don't subscribe to, I know it's a different page, but I don't like filling everyone's inbox with effectively unnecessary emails. I have a blog over at coachedandloved.com. I did not want to start a blog at Fitness Protection. I really want to kind of keep that clean. But in the blog, I'm going to start talking through BATNAs. You're and I don't have a sexier name for this yet, but in business school or in any of my previous roles, I had to do a lot of negotiations. And in any negotiation, you don't go there without your BATNA, which is the best alternative to a negotiating agreement. People on the other side that you're negotiating with forget that this exists, because we're always so focused on I'm going to get everything and there's nothing left on the table. The problem with that is if you're sitting across from someone that knows you're coming in with that like almost predatory type mindset, that you better hope they don't have a BATNA. You better hope that they have to do business with you, because the next time they don't have to, they won't. And I am that person. I'm just like, whoa, I don't want to get involved in that long battle. So I'm like, what is my BATNA? What do I need to get? And do I already have it? Do I have to get it from this person, or can I get it elsewhere? So with what that has to do with, again, with running, is that, my best alternative to engaging with this other person in a negotiation is my BATNA. My best alternative to what's written on the training plan on a day when I just don't have it in me. And I'm kind of like, whoa, no. As a run, that workout is avocado toast or a stride sandwich. And the only difference there is the placement of the strides. And they're in the middle, then it's a stride sandwich. If they're at the end, it's avocado toast. Boring, bland, but provides everything you need, and you can eat it every day. We're not here for eye candy. We're here for soul food in Fitness Protection. Though I like to think of your hair as eye candy, Sarah.
Did you just come up with that, like just now?
I probably saw it somewhere, to be honest. Like anything that comes out of my mouth is pretty cool. I probably
I'm going to write it down. Oh my God.
Thank you. That's going in the ad campaign. And I'm really excited. Yeah. So that's the other thing I've been working on this afternoon with A Quiet House. We're not going for eye candy. It's not going to be the prettiest thing that's going to attract people's attention on Strava, but it's going to be something that you can do every day that's geared towards you, that's for you, that's interesting. And I'm going to come up with the strength circuit that's the same thing. Generally speaking, if it's like, I don't know what to do, you can always go back to BOSU number 1, BOSU Booty number 1. I know it's been a while since you guys have seen it. It's one of the best staple workouts I have. If you don't own a BOSU ball, I'm going to come up with the equivalent to that. And that circuit will never be part of the training plans. It's just like, in a pinch, I've got nothing. What can I do? I'm going to give you an option of something I don't feel like doing what's written, I don't want to do what's over here, then here are your BATNAs, your BATNA workouts. Your BATNA run is avocado toast or a stride sandwich. And your BATNA strength work is going to be what I have, the work in progress I have not finished yet, but it's going to have an equally boring name, probably like Stan.
Hey, and R for Roz.
And R for Roz. Roz would like to say goodnight.
Good night, Roz.
And also there should be a workout called R for Roz.
Bye.
R for Roz, I can do that.
Okay.
I have a workout called R for Roz.
Can I have a kiss goodnight? Mwah. Love you. Oh, and a hug. Okay. All right. This is our ritual now. Roz comes in to say goodnight. That's her bargaining chip.
I love that.
Or rather, it's my bargaining chip. Okay. So I think we did pretty good on that question.
Totally.
All right.
What's the next one? I'm looking at the questions and the next.
Go back to that. I have so many tabs open right now. Okay. The next one is, I currently have a Polar M400 watch with a chest strap. I saw Coach MK was sporting a new Polar, and I wanted to know thoughts on what you think is the best watch for heart rate training. Also, what are your thoughts on chest strap or wrist for heart rate monitor?
Okay.
I know that we knock out the last one pretty quick, the last part pretty quick. The rest.
Well, when it comes to watches, I'm kind of indifferent to what you use. I'm all about low-hanging fruit. I do not have partnerships with other companies, and I don't want them. Like when I built out the revenue model for this company, I specifically excluded partnerships and sponsorships and merch. I mean, I do this because it's fun, and if you want a shirt, you can have it, but I'm not depending on you buying it in order to be able to pay Coach Sarah or myself even going forward. And the reason for that is that, like, the second you have a sponsorship in place or a partnership, people don't trust it. The second you hand them a discount code, it's like, oh, thank you, I get a discount. What do you get? You know, they no longer trust the recommendation. And if you saw that, there's a big piece in Quartz that came out, The Rise of the Micro Influencer. And that is why they're finding out that these people with like 1 million Facebook followers, no one's actually buying the stuff that they sell. Like you go there for brand awareness, but not actually for sales. So you're going to get in front of 1 million eyeballs if you're on Kim Kardashian's Instagram, but that's not going to translate into even like 10,000 sales necessarily, because no one believes for a second that Kim Kardashian is using the products because they know it's a paid sponsorship type of post. So I say this with love, because if I say that I like something, I actually like something. I don't want money from people so I like Polar. I always have. And the reason I'm all about Polar is because it's what we had in the 80s. Like that's what my dad received following the massive coronary that he had and the quintuple bypass. As part of his cardio rehab, he had to use a heart rate monitor, and the only one on the market at the time was a Polar. And it's the one that I trust. Even when Garmin came on the scene and it became a thing and everyone had to have a Garmin didn't offer heart rate monitoring capabilities right off the bat. They wouldn't introduce that until roughly 2011, and it wasn't very good. It was terrible, as a matter of fact. TomTom, same thing. The connectivity between like Garmin and the satellites was amazing, but if you needed connectivity between like your heart and your watch, you went with Polar. I'm told the last time I tried a Garmin was right before I bought my V800. That would have been roughly 2016, and I didn't have a problem with it, but it was really light, and I didn't like. I'm so used to using a Polar at this point that navigating the Garmin kind of drove me crazy. And I didn't like what I'm so used to seeing. Polar, again, it's avocado toast. It is boring. It is simple. There's nothing flashy. And I like that because anything I want, I've got right there. I'm not being distracted by a whole bunch of data points that don't really tell you anything. And that really, at my stage of fitness, I don't need to know vertical oscillation to be able to infer that maybe my hips could be a whole lot stronger. And then I'm using a whole lot of push off to go forward as opposed to actually powering from my booty. So that's why I prefer Polar. It's like, I don't need all that other. What is the best though? I kind of don't care. Whatever you have that works for you, that's where I would start. And maybe if you have a smartphone, where you start is a Wahoo strap, with the app, or maybe it's a Polar strap with the app.
Any Bluetooth strap will pair with the Wahoo fitness app, I'm pretty sure. Because that's what I started with when I was like, I don't know about this whole heart training thing. I'm not going to spend a bunch of money.
Yeah.
So I downloaded the Wahoo Fitness app. I got a Polar H7 strap, which was like $35, and they've moved past that strap at this point.
Yeah.
But the H10, I think, is the one they have now. Mm. But it didn't have to be a Wahoo strap. It paired with any Bluetooth strap.
Totally.
Yeah. And once, I did that for about 3 months, and I was like, all right, this is working, but it's super annoying. The Wahoo app is a little annoying.
Yes.
It's not as easy to use as Polar Flow. It's not as nice as a watch to sort of communicate with. And so I got the M400, which I've had for 3 years, and it is, like you say, super boring and bland and non-flashy. And people see it and they're like, ooh, like, is that a smartwatch? And I'm like, nope.
It's a really dumb watch.
Comment on it. It's a pretty dumb watch. But I think because I have the like bright blue strap, everyone's like, wow. It's not as smart as it looks, but it does everything that I need, and the quirks that it has, just I've already learned it. I don't feel like learning another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to technology, they could always sell you more. And that's another reason before you go shopping, know your BATNA. What do I need to get? What do I need it to do? What's my best alternative to an upgrade? Why am I considering an upgrade? I don't need you to buy the fanciest thing out there. If you want to buy the fanciest thing out there and you're like, MK, justify this purchase, I'll be like, okay, I will do that. But if you're asking me, what do I need to get? I'm saying start where you are, find what works with where you're at. And then from there, determine what your needs are. Let's say you've been running with the you buy the Wahoo strap, and I think it's affordable at like $30 or something. You're using that, you go out for a week, and you're like, you know what? I don't like this because I don't like having to push a button. I want this data right away without having to wake up my phone mid-run. Cool. Then we go from there. Then we say, okay, this is the point then where you want to watch. So which watch do you want? What's your budget? What do we really need to do? I would argue you don't need all this. I just really wanted all this because there's some new features on the Polar Vantage V, and that's mine. It's not the Vantage M. That's the more reasonably priced one. This was the top of the line. But there are two things that I can do with this watch that you guys will see later, because one of them is broadcasting, and I'm very excited about that. So I'm going to start streaming eventually while I run. And the other is in a broadcasting location live while I'm running too. So this will run to a GoPro, it'll run to a camera, and it will connect to, it's the first watch that's kind of low key connected to all the other things I would want to connect with, so that I don't have to purchase the $2,000 very expensive running backpack, which I've kind of like held my breath about for a while, because you have $600 a month in data fees if you once you go that direction. So this might be a cheaper, lower key way of moving in that direction, which I would like to do. And then finally, there's a concept of TREMP. TREMP is a measure of cardiovascular stress, strain, and load. It's separate from muscular load. Your muscles can be perfectly recovered and your cardiovascular system may not be. So what Training Peaks does is what it does well, better than any other training mechanism out there, and especially Strava, is split those notions in half, so that as a coach, if I'm looking at someone who's doing, say, a marathon every week, I can look at them side by side. If I'm talking to Julie, who just ran 50 fucking miles and is getting ready to do another 100K, I can look at her numbers and I can separate out the cardiovascular load with like the TREMP score from what her muscles are feeling, and then kind of combine that with what I see in the logs in a very interesting visual way that has not existed before. I have to do it myself and make the visual graphs myself right now in Training Peaks, because I'm very particular about what I want to see and how. Thank you, Wharton, and 10 years of working in finance. But that aside, for me, I'm just like, if I can see it on the screen and it's good enough and it's close enough to, it replicates what I do for my one-on-one clients, awesome. And it looks like it does. So that's why I went with the Polar Vantage V, the cardio load, the TREMP score, the visualization of the recovery cycle, separate from muscular soreness, because really we didn't have a good way to measure that for a long time. That's why I bought this, and I love it. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Ask me again in 42 days when all the data has caught up to where I am and the watch gets to know me, and its predictions. We'll see if it's, because all of these numbers that I'll look at are 42-day rolling averages. So once we've gotten to 42 days, then the predictions start becoming really interesting. So ask me what, I've had this for like, a week and a half now. Ask me like 28 days from now how I feel about the watch, if the predictions have kicked in, if the rolling averages are looking good, if the predictions are as good as I think that they eventually will be. So I'm finding that really exciting. For everyone else, though, I'm kind of indifferent. Apple Watch, I'm not here to knock it, but that's not a fitness watch, and they say so themselves. And most folks that I train who run with an Apple Watch don't love it for our purposes. Same with Fitbit. The idea between, like, the notion between Coros is the ultra runner's watch that has like 50 hours of battery life, something ungodly. Between Coros and Chorus and Polar and Garmin, people seem to be pretty indifferent. Pretty much everything else that's out there, there's some downsides. Like the Vivo Fit was intended to be a fitness tracker. Nothing wrong with it, but it isn't. It's updating like every 15 seconds, and that drives some of my people absolutely crazy. And they're like, nope, I had to upgrade to, a real running watch. So when my clients, who are not, going to win races, the races that they're in, are talking about having a real watch, I pay attention to that. And I think those companies should too. So what do I need you to get? Whatever you can afford that's going to like meet the bare minimums. And for most folks, that's what they can be. At the same time, if you're like, well, I love my Apple Watch, I'm not going to argue with you. Keep loving your Apple Watch. If what you have works, awesome. Great. I have no problem with anything people want to do that gives them the information that they want in the moment that they want it. I'm not going to tell you that what you're doing, that the choice you've made or the purchase that you made of this thing that isn't a problem is actually something that needs to be solved. It's just not how I roll. So as for in the final note, I believe there was a question there about chest strap versus wrist strap.
Yeah. That was the last part.
The technology that made an optical sensor possible came to pass in around 2011, and it became refined enough to hit the market in 2013. That doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean it's where there's still a differential for most humans between the optical sensor on the wrist and the sensor and the information coming from a strap while a body is in motion. And here's where the difference tends to lie. People that are larger, with more body fat, with bigger rib cages, or women who are gifted and already have to wear 2 sports bras, these people tend to prefer the optical sensor. They don't want to have, they're like, this works. It's fine. I get what I need. The chest strap was a disaster. It cut all the way down to the bone. It wasn't significantly better. For people like, people that are smaller, and again, it's not about being like fat or thin. It's about how tight. If you're a person with not a lot of body fat and little bitty wrists, little bony wrists, little bird bones, and you're going to have to, if you're wearing your watch, because most of us have these watches and we wear them all the time every day. If you're you're going to have to tighten that watch a lot to get a decent read during your workout. Say hi, Mr. MK. Yay! To get a decent read during your workout, and that can be really annoying. So for me with the optical sensor, I had to wear it so tightly that it felt like I was getting carpal tunnel. My wrists, I would have to pop them after my runs were over. It was really uncomfortable while I was out there. And this is something I hear a lot. Women with small boobs, women with this, really, really low amounts, absurdly low amounts of body fat. I have a lot of body fat, but I have really tiny boobs. We tend to prefer the chest strap, mainly because it doesn't bother us. I mean, the bra, the running bra that I go out there with it's kind of like a sock. I mean, it doesn't have cups. I don't need them. It's fine. So to that effect, the more you have on your chest, the harder it is probably to just stomach the chest strap. As to what I want you to wear, I don't really care. I don't need you. A chest strap is not so superior that you need to wear something that chafes you down to the bone and makes you miserable every time you're out there. Do what works for you. But broadly and generally speaking, bigger humans tend to like the optical sensor, and smaller humans tend to like the chest strap. And don't read into that. I know that like the talk about, fat, thin, big, small, whatever, like this is not even trying to use coded language. I'm just trying to make sure that communication is heard. Before having Violet, I could not handle the optical sensor. I couldn't do it. Now that I've had her, I got a bit more fat. I'm like, oh man, I see what they're talking about. This is pretty good. It's almost as accurate as my chest strap. But the technology itself has not changed since 2013. My body is what has changed. So I don't mind the optical sensor now, but I still much prefer the chest strap because it's a way more reliable. When I go out there are whole periods, especially when it's hot, especially when it's humid, especially when I'm sweating a lot, where there'll be some interference with with the data uptake. And I'm like, all I need to know is where my heart rate is. If I look down and I see cadence, or I look down, and that's another reason I don't love Polar. It's a known error where it'll pick up cadence instead of heart rate. That never happens with Polar. When I look down and I see 68, and I'm like,
that's a Garmin error.
That's a Garmin error, and it's been a known error since roughly 2016 or so. They've worked on it, but they haven't completely eliminated it in a lot of the lines outside of the Phoenix line. I'm told the Phoenix line tends to be really reliable, but that's the high-end triathlete multi-sport watch. So anything that's a little further down the line is a little, that error tends to present more and more, and they're not quite sure why. So when I look down and I see something that's clearly my cadence, and that tends to happen either when it's been dropped, the signal's been dropped, or again, I'm sweating where it's a really cold day, then all of a sudden, we're a really hot day, then that optical sensor doesn't work very well for me. So I like having the chest strap as backup. That's what I feel and how. I'm not going to tell you what to feel or how to deal. Find what works for you and just keep doing that.
Yay.
Wow. Okay. That's everything in Maintain.
That's everything in Maintain. Yep.
All right, let me go.
Can you see the rebuild questions, or do you want me to read them?
I can, but you know what? This is so much fun. I might ask you to keep reading them as soon as I...
Sure.
Susan, I'm adding your stream marker at 36 minutes and 8 seconds. There we go. Okay.
All right. Hello, Rebuild. Question 1. I pretty much stand and or walk all day at work. I wear good shoes and compression socks. I do have short periods where I get to sit throughout the day. At the end of most days, my legs are tired and my knees are achy. Any suggestions for legs that are already tired before a run? Would love to run in the mornings, but it's just not going to happen Tuesday to Friday. It would mean running in the dark alone, and I live out in the country where there is very dark.
Yay! Stand up. It's tough. When your legs are already tired before a run is probably like the last thing you want to do.
It's really tough. I run after work one day a week, and it's like, oh, really? Oh, my God. People do this every day? How do they do it? I don't know.
Right?
Yeah.
And running in the dark alone is not everyone's.
You.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is hard. The fact that you still want to run despite this, because this is the perfect storm where people tend to say like, running's just not for me with my life and where we're at right now, and I respect that. But what I would do when legs are tired before a run, or when I just don't want to go, strides. It's worth it if you are friends with Julie or Tamara or Susan DeLeo on Facebook. They recently did 3 days at the fair, and one of the long runs that they had for the past 12 weeks was something I called the mashup long run. And with the mashup, I basically was mashing up every tool and trick that they would need to get through 14 plus hours of running, because especially around that 1 mile loop on a parking lot in New Jersey, which sounds terrible. And it was, but here's what gets you through when you start to fatigue. All we need, sometimes we can, that's real, but we can sort of override all of those neuromuscular connections that are telling you that you're tired by running fast, and not running like going out and just balls out doing whatever you want to do, but very controlled with a stride or one by one. So when it comes to muscular soreness, that's what we can do. That strides are that those neuromuscular stimuli that lead to speed, and that's again. So it's 20 seconds from start to finish. You kind of come in at a jog, slowly ramping up to about no faster than 10K pace, 5K pace, somewhere in there. But this is not a full out sprint. And then slowly and carefully decelerating back to a jog, all over the course of 20 seconds. And then after that, you're going to want to recover for about 40 seconds and then do it again. So 20 seconds plus 40 seconds is 1 minute. So 6 of those is 6 minutes long. If you were to just do your silly toes warm up and then kind of force yourself to do 6 or 8 strides, you might find that your muscles are awake enough that they might be excited to move. And that's something to consider. The compression socks are definitely going to help with some of the fatigue. But this is also where nutrition is going to become important. Make sure that, when you sit down, when you can, that you're doing stretches, that you're getting a lot of magnesium, because magnesium and potassium are 2 things that we tend to lose a lot, that we lose quite easily when we're doing things to forget what we're doing, right? So when we're college students and we're trying to stay up all night long, we're drinking a whole lot of coffee, we're actually washing a lot of the trace minerals out of our body with the sheer volume of fluid that we're taking in.
So those are just some ideas. But yeah, no, don't worry about what you can't. Don't focus on what you can do and not what you can't do. Like if running in the mornings is not going to happen now, that's cool. We don't need it to. What we do need to find is a way to mitigate the soreness from standing. And if we can't make it go away from, foot massages or having, so I have, this is another product that I like. I have 2 of these under my desk. Sorry, I know I also have a lot of dust under my desk because you can see it fly out in the camera. I forget what this is called, Moji. And I just rub my feet on them all the time. And you can buy pads with these locked into them that you can like stop to slip your feet out and rub over them. And that's what I have under my desk. I'm pretty much constantly rubbing my feet over those whenever I'm sitting down, except right now because it would look really weird. I'm already conscientious enough of like how weird my lips and neck look when I'm on camera. Like I have a lot of tics I wasn't aware of until I started doing this.
so bad, isn't it? It's so hard. Oh my God, what? Wait, look like that. Yes.
It's like the first time I recorded myself, I realized how frequently I said, so it's all coming out now. So I'm not doing it at the moment, but usually when I'm sitting under my desk thinking I'm rubbing my feet over things, it might be worth investing in a couple emojis that you could have to, if massaging your own feet doesn't sound fun, it doesn't sound like a good idea. Something like the emoji with those little rollers, that actually it's a great idea. And you can throw them in the freezer or pull them out when you get home and put your feet over them. And that feels really nice too. Because part of all that standing is going to be inflammation, and rubbing your feet over something cold should help with that.
Awesome.
Yay.
Next question.
Yes.
Okay. Hi. First off, I'm loving this program. Having the structure of a training program without the pressure of a goal I am nowhere ready for is so good for me. Yes, love that. My question, when I do accelerators, one of my hamstrings barks at me for a day or 2. Is this a sign I'm not ready for that yet? Should I double down on any strength exercise in particular to get ready, or just be patient?
With that, I would cut the accelerators immediately because we don't mess with hamstrings ever. If we can see a PT, if that's available to you, let's do that sooner before this becomes a thing. Because if it's happening during accelerators, it's going to happen during the harder efforts that are going to come up on Monday and Wednesday of this week. So if that's happening now, then let's not add to that in any way. Let's find out what's causing it. Usually anything that's causing the hamstring to bark is mechanical, meaning, and the good thing about a mechanical problem is that we can solve a mechanical problem. We can solve a biomechanical problem. Chances are pretty good that if even like the biggest one that PTs like to throw down and say is like, oh, one leg is longer than the other. It's not a big deal. They're professional runners. No body is perfectly symmetric. So it's how do we cope and how do we compensate? What muscles are able to cope and compensate in different planes of motion? That's really the question we address with the physical therapist. So it's not like, oh, one leg's longer than the other. Womp womp. Game over. Remember, the question you always go in and you ask, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And you don't leave until you have the answers to that. Print out at least one copy of 1 week of the training plan, take it in and say, this is what I'm supposed to do. Help me modify it. Don't sit there and say everything is fine. This person works for you. So make that time work for you as well. So anything that's going on with your hamstrings, let's just get on top of it before it becomes bigger. Because if you can't do an accelerator, then you probably can't you can't lift your body weight out of a chair. This was something that we had on the agenda, I think, last month, and it was trying to rise from a seated position, or at least attempting to rise from a seated position without this knee bending inward. So that the lower down we are.
I was in maintain. Yeah. This person is in rebuild.
Oh, that was in maintain? Okay. Sorry. My bad.
But everyone should try it. It is hard as hell.
It's really hard. And it's called that move right there is called the chair test. And every time I go to see Alex Lanton, or who's my physical therapist here at Atlas Physical Therapy in Denver, Colorado, he is the person, like, that's one of the first things he has me do. He's like, all right, sit in the chair, stand up out of the chair. Or he's watching me. That SOB watches me like wait, even though I shouldn't have to. And then comes over and is like, okay. And he watches me rise out of the chair. Just to see how I do it and what I do. And it's gotten to the point I know what he's looking for. So I just do it on one leg, sit down, and then do it on the other. And he's like, okay, come on back. So to that end, it's a pretty important test. It's one that if you have not, when I'm working with someone one-on-one, I won't put them on a track to do traditional type of speed work until they have passed that test successfully. And if their PT has told me so, because People are like, I came really close. Like, close is not the same. We're hill repeats. I won't let you do traditional type hill repeats or track work until I know you pass the chair test. And this is why, if you can't pass the chair test, then the second we change that plane of motion and have you running hard uphill with a booty that isn't ready to support your body's weight, your hamstrings are going to do the extra work. Your quads are going to be doing the extra work. And we're going to burn those out to the point that we're not going to make it through the training cycle. And if anyone's listening, this might have been you in the past. It's really familiar. When the big muscle groups aren't doing what we want them to do, the little ones compensate. Hamstrings are a compensatory group. They don't really operate on their own. They are supporting cast members. So when they bark, that's a sign, a big red flag, that there's a bigger physiological something going on. And it's just too hard for me to determine what until you've seen the physical therapist. And if the physical therapist is like, no, you're fine, then guess what? That's coming from your pelvic floor. Sorry.
Okay. So I hope that's a good answer for whoever's listening. Hopefully you can get to a physical therapist and ask for an assessment. I've been dealing with some hamstring issues recently, and physical therapy has been really, really helpful. And I haven't had to decrease my running that much in order to, do the work necessary. And so, go into it knowing that like everyone is on your team and everyone wants to get you where you need to go. And it's really good to ask for help before something turns into anything like really big and serious. And it sounds like we're at that point.
Yeah. And I know that as a woman, there are times, there are places I won't go without my husband because people don't hear me when I say I'm in pain, or when I say this isn't working, it isn't taken seriously. If that's where you're at, find another physical therapist, find a new doctor. Alex Ladden has never treated me like a girl. And that's one of the reasons I still go there. When I say that he's the best physical therapist I've ever had, that's specifically what I'm talking about. When I say this hurts, he's like, okay. And he investigates. It's like, he doesn't try to read between the lines or make assumptions about, how, it must not be that bad. It's, he's known me for five, almost 6 years. And when I come in and I say that I'm in pain, he's like, the look on his face when I had said, I had emailed him to be like, I think there's something wrong with my arm. And he's like, I don't have any availability till Friday. When I walked in the door that Friday and he saw me in his office, he was like, oh my God, I had no idea. He's like, and I should have, is a very quick correction. When you say I'm in pain and you're reaching out, that means you got hit by a car type of pain. I'm like, that's fair. But I digress. So a lot of us, I get it. As a woman, there are things you can't say because the second you say this hurts, that means you're weak. We're not talking about the pain. We're talking about your response to that stimulus. Find someone that's not going to judge your response or make you feel judged. That's not going to tell you what you actually feel because they don't know. Find someone who listens. If that PT doesn't, let's find a new one.
Yeah.
Because if they're not listening, they're not going to heal you.
Agreed. Okay. Next question.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm loving Rebuild. It has me running regularly again, and it's amazing. Thank you for putting this together. Yay! I live in a hilly area and have been treadmilling and driving to flat areas to run. However, at some point, I'd like to be able to run from home again. Any suggestions for this? Will I get to a point where I'll be sub 140 or 150 on the hills?
It takes time. That's going to be a function of power, and power is a function of strength. So when it comes to hills, it's, yes, you're always going to slow down when you're going up a hill. That's basic physics. How much you have to slow down, though, that depends on how much power you have, which is why I do a lot of strength, which is why most professional athletes, even if they don't have a hilly race coming up, will do strength all of the time. They're trying to maximize their power output. And although I hate to even bring this into the conversation, once you've gotten as fit as you can possibly get, this is where doping comes in. Doping does not negate your need to work. It gives you the ability to do more and harder work to achieve absolutely unnatural results. Like I could name a race I watched recently where I just sat there like, and you could see the dopers, you could see what they were doing because it was completely unnatural. It was beautiful to watch a human body do that, but there's no way that happened naturally. So to that effect, I'm not saying like I know that doping is probably not on your agenda. My point is this. There are some things that are natural that we have to accept, and one of those is needing to slow down whenever you're going up the hill. How long it's going to be before you're able to run on the hills is going to be a function of, one, how strong you are cardiovascularly, right? So how it's almost impossible to predict how long it'll take for you to return to where you were. God knows, I thought I would be back to 2016 MK already by now, and I'm not. So, and I say that not to have you lose hope, but if you're trying to count the days off a calendar, you're looking for progress, and you're not looking at the work you've been doing, and the results that you want are going to come faster if you're focused on the work and not looking for the progress. So if the question you're really asking me is how long is it going to be before I can walk on the hills and not feel bad about myself, I say, you know what, go ahead and test it. When you're on the treadmill, throw in a hill in the middle of a run, say at like 2.5%, and see how much that slows you down, and if mentally you can handle that pace. And the second thing to remember is, like, we get a slightly higher heart rate cap in rebuild, and that is to keep you going. That's to kind of keep you in it. So if we could be judicious about when we choose the hilly days, and say a Wednesday's coming up and there's a 3x1 and you're like, I don't really want to go. I kind of really want to run on this hill. Great. Instead of running 3 minutes hard, which would get your heart rate up, go run in the hilly area. And give yourself permission. I've got 3 minutes. I can run uphill and get my heart rate to say 155, but no higher than that. And I can't push it hard, and then my heart rate's going to come back down. So that's one way you could play it to adapt this guide. That would be the guided DIY rule to adapt this to sort of your fitness level and your desires, would be to turn one of the interval workouts into a hill workout.
Cool. I like that idea. Yeah. It's nice when you have a run with a little bit of harder efforts mixed in, and that is a place where there's room for you to let your heart rate go up a little bit. And if what's going to make you feel really good is to go run in your hilly area a little bit and kind of see what you got. And you'll be like, if you hang in there and you wait, you will find yourself being able to run uphill slowly. You're still, like Emery said, you're still going to slow down, but then your heart rate will just drop right back down as soon as you're up and over that hill. And that is really cool. It's really cool when you start seeing your heart rate recover really, really quickly.
While you're still moving. You can recover without having to walk. Yeah.
Right.
That's one of the measures of cardiovascular fitness that we're looking for. And if nothing else could persuade you to get really, really diligent about the strength work, it's this. You will get to where you want to be sooner. You will be on those hills and eating them for breakfast faster if you're doing the strength than if you're not.
Yep, definitely. All right, next question.
Yeah.
Okay. I am confused about how the long run is written. In Training Peaks, the description is 60/75 plus 6. But in the written description, it refers to 60 minutes and 4 minutes of accelerators. Not that big of a deal, but this inquiring mind needs you to interpret, please.
No problem. That's an error. That's an error on my part. And it looks like on the editor's part, because we all kind of missed it too. Sorry for that. And thank you for pointing it out. What we're going for is 60. So one of the guiding features of rebuild, because again, we don't know how long you're going to be in there. And we don't want you to be in a huge hurry to get out. We don't want to make it about the plan. We want to make it about really you and where you're at. So the long run, 60 minutes or 75 minutes. So lane 1 is the number on the left. Lane 2 is the number on the right. And so with 6 accelerators is what I intended it for if you're in lane 1, you're going to do 60 minutes with 4 accelerators, or 75 minutes with 6 accelerators. And somehow that got missed in the name, and that's what it should be. So apologies for that, but thank you for catching the typo.
Okay. Where should stretching go in the priority list?
Foam rolling is so much better because it's a deeper manipulation of the muscle, and it's one that will go pretty far. So when it comes to stretching, I have watched so much stretching go so wrong. It's one of the reasons why it's almost hard for me to join run clubs. When I go to a run club and I watch people stretching before or afterwards, I'm like, my eyes. I feel like they're going to pop out of my head. It's just like, because I'm not their coach and I can't say anything, even if I see someone hurting themselves. I've seen people quad stretch, for example, is supposed to be this, right? And so your knees are in line with each other and you're pulling your quad back, right? I have watched, but people get excited. And I've seen this. I can't even hold that for very long. So this right here is not a quad stretch. That's a really good way to tear your labrum. And I've watched people doing that, getting really aggressive, trying to pull that leg back. Like that's a yoga pose. That's fine. But I watch people do this and struggle and get in odd positions. I'm like, that's going to hurt your lower back. If you're trying to stretch your quads, it's this. But I can't walk up to total strangers and be like, hey, by the way, you could be doing permanent damage. My name's MK. It's just not fun. So that's one of when it came to stretches, I'm like, when I'm designing these programs, I had to think, where are the most solid, effective coaching cues going to come from? And how can I ensure that I'm building and rather than breaking my runners and not to, for lack of a better word, idiot proof it. I can idiot proof foam rolling. There's like, you're more likely to get hurt if you don't foam roll the way I tell you to than if you do. It's really hard to idiot proof stretching because so much of your form has to be exactly right in order to get the benefits of that stretch. And I would hate to tell you, do this, and then have you do it incorrectly and not know for a really long time until we find out that, hey, that thing you had me do tore my labrum. I need surgery now. Like, well, that's not okay. That's definitely not what I want. So, but that said, if there are stretches that you're confident you know how to do, that have been suggested by your physical therapist, that have been demonstrated to you by someone who definitely knows proper posture and positioning, do them. If they help, do them. I mean, I'm never going to say don't do something that helps you. What I can't do is assign something that could be misinterpreted either in writing or this is a 2-dimensional training platform, right? You don't have to interact with me. I give you opportunities to, but it's not mandated. So I have to make sure that the cues that I give and the instructions that I give are as clear and as simple as possible. And trying to assign or describe a stretch is, I've learned the hard way, it's impossible. The only one I can say with confidence that is terrific and worth doing is called the Couch Stretch by Kelly Starrett of mobilitywod.com. He's a badass. He's terrific. It's actually worth the money if you love stretching, but don't love yoga and want to find ways to kind of break down muscle. He does it really well on his website. It's mobilitywod, mobilitywod.com. And so, I mean, he has a lot of really good moves in there, but that website is kind of pricey. So it might not be worth $30 or whatever per month to you, but I know the Couch Stretch, the way that he presents it, the way with all of the cues, it's not only in the book, like a supple leopard, training like a supple leopard, that he wrote a few years ago, which is a terrific book, by the way. But it's also, if you Google it, you should be able to find the Kelly Starrett Mobility Wide Couch Stretch. And then he demonstrates it and breaks it down. So that one, I would be like, do that after every run that's longer than an hour or harder with any component that's harder effort than easy effort. So excluding strides. So if your Monday, Wednesday runs tend to be your harder runs, and Saturday runs tend to be the long runs, those are the days I would do the Couch Stretch. But other than the Couch Stretch, there's nothing I can recommend quite safely. Again, not because stretching is dangerous, but stretching done incorrectly is very dangerous.
Yes, for sure. Hot yoga classes. Oof. The thing about hot yoga classes, you do those poses, but you spend a lot of time warming up to get there, and you have someone walking around hopefully observing you. It's I never feel comfortable trying that stuff at home. Oof.
No, I even don't feel comfortable in a lot of those classes, because you get some people that are overachievers and that are competitive, and they're like, she's really low, I should be too. And it's not your practice anymore very quickly. Very because this sense, the way that I saw a meme on Instagram the other day, it was like, if I'm not beating somebody, then really what's the point? And it was from I Mom So Hard, and it really made me kind of cringe because I know a lot of people that think that way. I'm not one of them. I don't. When I'm with somebody who is clearly thinking that way and thinks that what we're doing is competition, I'm like, I get weirded out and I kind of back away with my hands in the air. I'm like, you win. You don't want to be friends anymore, do you?
Run away.
Okay. And I do. I run away. So, and that's one of the reasons why. I mean, even something simple as like downward dog, it is so easy to get that wrong. Hyperextend your back, hurt yourself. I've watched a person break a toe before. It's so it's knowing when it's going to lead to something good instead of something bad. It's right. Hard, and it's hard to do. It's really hard to do with the stretch.
Yeah. Okay, next question. This is also about hills, so this will go back to what we were talking about before. What are the heart rate recommendations when going up some long, steady incline hills? My heart rate can jump 20 beats even though I slow down.
I would say use common sense. And I say that not to be demeaning. And I know that just that, and it sounds incredibly demeaning, and I apologize for that, but I'm going to trust your own judgment on that. What matters is that you're moderating your intensity when you're going up that hill, because you know that going up the hill is going to be more work. This is an easy effort run. Therefore I need to scale back. And for a while, this is rebuild. You might need to scale way back. Don't turn that need to scale back into a moral judgment about you and about how you got here and who you used to be and how did this happen, because none of that thought process is going to be productive or lead to anything better. What I would say is that as long as you're being really cognizant that to slow down on those hills, I'm not going to beat you up for whatever you decide. I will say that my favorite place to run when I'm fit, and I'm not there yet, is on University. And if you've watched me on Strava, those are the runs that I do that just look like a big straight line going south and coming north again. I'll go park at for those of you that are local to Denver, I'll go park in the King Supers at Hamden and run dead south on University all the way to County Line Road when I'm super fit and come all the way back. Sometimes I just go to the rec center and come back. I can get 7 miles out of that, 18 or 19 miles out of going down to County Line Road and coming back. And it's super duper hilly. I'm not fit enough to do that yet. But when I will go, and once in a while, and attempt part of it. And my heart rate, I will slow down a lot. My heart rate still goes up. But the cap that I kind of impose on myself is 155, meaning I see it going over 150 and I know I gotta dial back more. Uh-huh. But I let myself do that because I know I really wanted to be there. I needed to feel some semblance of myself again. So I care less about the hard number. Like you said, 20 beats. Then I just said, well, I look for 10 beats, but I'll give myself grace to 13, 15. It's not about that hard number as much as it is about noticing it. Because what is easy to do and tempting to do over time is to be like, well, I did this thing that I really wanted to do and I don't feel tired and I don't feel sore and I don't feel worn down tomorrow. And then it becomes permission. And we can't do that. That is going to catch up with you really quickly. It caught up with me a couple months ago too. And that's why you haven't seen me. I was getting too excited, feeling stronger than I actually was. And I just can't, I haven't let myself go have my run candy on my favorite trails yet.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to want to get out there and not be ready yet. And rebuilding is really hard work, you guys. Yeah. It's really, really hard work and you're doing amazing.
Running more slowly than you want to go in any given moment is the hardest thing you will ever do as a runner, or really is, not as a human, but as a runner for sure. And I don't care how fit you get. I've watched people try to pace their slower friends in races, forgetting that this race is not my race because I'm pacing my friend, it's her race. And like friendships just totally busted over that. I've watched, it is so hard to be in a moment that's not your moment, and still enjoy that moment and get what you need out of it. So if you're not there yet, cool. Don't beat yourself up for being wherever you are. And know this, that even when I get fit someday, this thing I'm doing right now will still be hard. It's just going to be hard mental effort, trying not to run really fast rather than hard physiological effort, and a lot of heartbreak trying to keep my heart rate low and actually go slow.
Yeah. Good. I like it. All right, we have 2 more questions, and the last one is long.
Okay.
This next one is short. I don't know if the answer is going to be short, and I definitely don't know the answer to this one. I'm being started on a beta blocker, which will slow my heart rate for migraine prevention. Any changes or ways this will impact my heart rate training? Thanks.
No, they're going to slow you down. Talk to Gretchen. I believe Gretchen was the one that started taking beta blockers a few years ago, and it was a bit of an adjustment for her because she could, on the ones that she was taking, she could go really hard, and they would regulate her heart rate wouldn't go very high because that's what beta blockers do. So she got very excited, be like, "I can train super hard now, right?" I'm like, "No." No, sorry. Like we need to, like, you're not going to magically run, 10-minute paces and have it be okay. Just because your heart is kind of regulating your we don't get to put more stress on your system just because you're taking a drug that will regulate it. So what it's going to do is effectively make you kind of feel a whole lot better. You're going to take it for very good reason. And until your body is fully adjusted to it, which is really going to take about 8 weeks, you might find it either slowing you down a lot or feeling like this is nothing, I really could run faster. Both are equally valid, normal, and common responses to starting beta blockers. And one response is not better than the other. There's no meaning to it. So don't try to find meaning. Like, what does this mean? Just stay in touch with your doctor. Keep interacting with your doctor because, whatever it was that led you to be put on beta blockers. I mean, you said migraines, but there could be something else going on. So more stress is not the answer. So if you're the person, basically, if you're taking beta blocker and you feel like I could do this really hard, I can run forever, don't try. There's still power is still a function. And if you're soaring along on coasting on cardiovascular amazingness and you don't have the muscles to back it up, it will catch up to you same way it did during the Jack and Jill downhill marathon in July 2016, the way it did for me. So that's it. That's all I would worry about. I mean, I wouldn't even worry about it. It's like, it's going to be a little different the next time you run, but it doesn't have to be a big deal.
Yay for hopefully no more migraines. Gosh, I really hope for that for you because migraines are terrible. So yay for solutions. Okay, last question. Hi, coaches. I am here because I want to be coached and loved again. 2 weeks ago, I was supposed to be running my first marathon. I followed one of MK's plans and was so ready. Then 2 weeks before my race, an old plantar fasciitis injury started to act up. I was heartbroken because of all of the work I put into my training and the charity fundraising I did. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's so hard.
That sucks.
Right now, my injury is slowly improving. I am foam rolling, stretching, massaging, and not running. I am living my life and I'm subbing in other exercise such as core DVDs with my kid, bike and rowing in the gym. I'm doing lots of extra strength work. I'm hanging out here to make sure I stay tethered.
Good.
I'm doing what I can do. I really miss running so much. I'm trying not to shout, "Be grateful," as people run past me in the street. My question is this: do I need to be totally pain-free before I start running again? And any other tips appreciated. Happy to be coached and loved again right now.
I'm happy to have you here. I know exactly who wrote this, and I'm really, because I followed that journey very carefully on Facebook.
We love you. We love you, and I feel your pain so much, and I am so sorry. Oh, I want to hug you. I'm so sorry.
Me too. Because plantar fasciitis is kind of a big deal. And the reason it's a big deal is because it's super painful. That's literally the plantar fascia tearing under your foot. And we don't want to tear all the way through. So definitely, I would prefer you to be pain-free before you continue, but also and make sure that you are really taking care of your feet in a holistic way, holistic with the W. So that's the plantar fasciitis ongoing maintenance involves a lot of foot strengthening. It involves a lot of calf loosening. With like that, the first move I have you all do in foam rolling routine, I have you go on your shins back and forth, and I'd stay with that. And then the bone saw, which is another Kelly Start move from abilitywod.com. The bone saw is pretty vicious and it doesn't feel very good, but all of that's going to loosen up your toes. Because if you think of it this way, if you've ever gone and gotten, a manicure and then you get the hand, like they massage your forearms and it's like, oh, my fingers are moving because they're playing it like a guitar. And that's all from pressure on the tendons here. So the tendons that move your fingers attach to your elbow, and the tendons that move your toes attach at the knee. So whenever there's stickiness in here, it can lead to carpal tunnel. And when there's stickiness in the lower part of your ankle, like right around in here, that's going to accelerate anything that's happening with plantar fasciitis. So that's one thing. If there's an impetus I could give you to keep yourself supple and mobile as much as possible, it would be that. This is one of the better things you can do to prevent plantar fasciitis. I used to have a video about the 3 steps of plantar fasciitis immediate treatment and care. We're going to remake that video and post it in the next month. That's on my list of things to do. And I know a couple of people have written and asked about that already, and I apologize. But the most important thing to remember is it's going to get better faster if you don't try to make it worse. So I know that it's frustrating and I know that's really tough, but it's going to come from a combination of strengthening your feet, loosening things up, making sure that your kinetic chain is working really efficiently. So all the strength work that you're doing is a really good idea. Let's keep doing that, because all of this stuff will hopefully prevent it from coming back. So, and my final note is yay for good decisions. Staying tethered to us is one of the best things that you can do, because even if you can't run right now, if you can walk, focus on what you can do. If you can walk, if we can get you on a bike, if we can put you on a recumbent bike, these are all things we can do to maintain some of the fitness that you would have built during your training cycle, so it doesn't all have to be washed away just due to injury. Let's focus on what you can do and make it a priority of doing that.
Totally agree. I'm so glad that you're with us, because we get it. A lot of us have been where you are. And like when you just want to yell at people in the street to be grateful, like we are here for that energy. You can bring us that and we will commiserate. And so we know how you feel and it sucks. And we want to be here for you and hold your hand while you move through that. So thanks for coming to us.
Yay. All right.
That's it.
That is it. I'm going to download the responses and clean out the form and get it reset for next week on both ends.
Just like that. It's next week, guys. All she has to do is click a few things and it's next week already.
It feels that way. And how is it already time? I can't believe this is already over. I can't believe it's already time for the baby Violet to start preschool. Gosh, I don't know.
Send you pictures during the day? Or are you going to get adorable pictures on your phone while she's there?
Oh, I'm going to take pictures and probably mostly selfies of me crying as I walk out the door.
Because Roz's teachers have this app called Homeroom, and they put pictures of the kids up during that. Usually, once in the afternoon while everyone's taking a nap, they'll load up a bunch of pictures. So I get this notification being 26 pictures have been added, and then I go, I'm like, oh my god, I need to see them right now. They're really cute.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, we don't. They use Brightwheel, which, funny enough, Brightwheel was invented by a classmate of mine at Wharton, and we'd heard from his wife that he was going to be on Shark Tank when Brightwheel came out a couple years ago. So if you guys ever use Brightwheel to sign into or out of your preschools, that was made by, not I can't claim it, not my friend. It's more friends with my husband. But yeah, fun fact. It's always fun to see. It's fun for me to watch people that I went to school with do really cool things. I don't watch Shark Tank. All of it's just too reminiscent of, my former life, and I kind of like where we are right now. And I've got enough fishes in my life that I have to look for it on TV. But we use Brightwheel, and every once in a while I'll get photos, but it's not their priority is not sending me photos throughout the day. But I have a feeling that the Violet's teachers will be looking out for me a little more than usual.
They know that this is the final Fleming. This
final
is a big
countdown.
deal.
Mm-hmm.
Hope you have someone to give you a big hug after you drop her off.
I do. Well, I'm going straight to Pilates, so there'll be several people there to commiserate with,
and then kick your ass.
Pretty much.
Take your mind off it.
Pretty much.
Make your butt hurt really, really bad.
Gotta stay busy.
Yeah, that's right. We'll be thinking about you.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it. You're coached. You are loved. Let's go on at the week ahead. I'm going to shut down all 3 streams. Once again, if you have not found us on YouTube, come join the Fitness Protection YouTube channel. That link is not up on Twitch yet. That links to my Coach MK YouTube channel, and that's where all of my Twitch repository will continue to live. But for now, this is my first time live streaming on YouTube on the Fitness Protection YouTube page, and hopefully this worked. We'll see how it turns out, but we might be doing more of this. I have all of 1 viewer, and if that 1 viewer is the one that doesn't use Facebook, then all of this was worth it.
It's me. It's definitely me.
Oh, it's you? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I have all the pages open at the same, but it is working. It's definitely all the streams are going simultaneously. Everything's been smooth,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's just the only thing that's funny is that for once now I'm backwards. I'm not usually backwards on Twitch, but so my screen is backwards in the YouTube video. My screen is backwards in the Twitch video, and it's the right way around in the Facebook video. Go figure. Every time I think I got it all on lockdown, I am proven wrong.
Oh my god. Yeah, whenever I do Facebook Lives and I adjust my hair, I always sort of reach for the wrong side of my face, and then I realize that I've got the wrong side, and I have to go. Yeah. It's the opposite of what I think it's going to be when I'm looking at myself.
Exactly.
It's a very strange experience.
Well, I hope that is the strangest experience you guys have had tonight. We'll see you in the private Facebook groups in about an hour or so to go through, maybe a little longer than that. Depends on how long it takes to get the kids off me once I go downstairs. But I will see you live for some strength demonstrations in an hour or so. But otherwise, you're coached, you're loved. Let's go win it the week ahead.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks. Bye, Sarah.
Bye.
Kristen and Chill is a comedy podcast that gets real about depression, therapy, and daily struggles. Often irreverent and lighthearted, conversations range from minor social anxiety to mental health and everything that happens in between. Kristen and Chill also covers topics such as having friends with depression, weight gain, suicide prevention, adult bullying, and more. So if you're looking for a more lighthearted take on these things, go check out the show. Search Spotify and wherever else you listen to podcasts to hear more than 80 endearing episodes of Kristen and Chill. You can also join the conversation and find Kristen on Twitter at Kristen Carney. It's one thing to say that you're coached and loved. Showing it is next level, you guys. If you want to show the world how loved you actually are, head on over to fitnessprotection.threadless.com and check out our amazing selection of t-shirts, tanks, hoodies, water bottles, coffee mugs, and yes, a shower curtain. Because why not? Just picture your mother-in-law stepping on your coached and loved bath mat and drying her ass with our signature beach towel. It's amazing. You know your guest bathroom needs to be coached and loved just like you. Free domestic shipping on orders of $45 or more, and free international shipping on orders of $80 or more from now until June 16th with code FREESHIP619. Again, that's all caps, FREESHIP619 over at fitnessprotection.threadless.com.